Good evening, all. I hope you are able to see the screen and my voice is audible. Can you please confirm me that?
Yes, sir. Voice is
Right.
completely audible.
Right. Thank you. Right. So in the last session, we were talking about the complete syllabus and the list of tools, the medium scale projects and capstone projects that I am going to cover as part of batch 8. So today is session 2, which is related to batch 8 on GitHub Actions, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. As part of this session, we are going to learn one tool which is called as a Maven. We're going to learn a tool called Maven. So we'll see what is Maven, why do we need Maven in the real-time scenarios, what actually Maven will do, how is it going to work as part of real-time scenarios. This we'll try to understand as part of this session. Before I talk about Maven, let us quickly understand what is actually meant by CI and CD pipelines. CI and CD pipelines. We all might have heard about this term called CI/CD pipelines. But what actually happens in CI/CD pipelines? Usually, developers will be available. Developers are going to write the source code of the application. Write the source code of the application. That means developers will develop the application code. Developers will develop the application code. Once developers develops the application code, then this code will be sent to the testing team, where testing engineers or a test team will test the code. They are going to find out whether the code contains any bugs or not, whether this code is something which has any vulnerabilities. All of these things will be tested in the test team, by the test team. So bug testing, we call it as in simple terms. Once testing team tests the code, then they are going to keep this particular source code in the GitHub repository. They're going to keep the source code in the GitHub repository after getting an approval from the development team and also the testing team. Testing team is going to store the code in the GitHub repository. Once the code is available in the GitHub repository, then DevOps engineers will come into play. So what DevOps engineers will do with that code? DevOps engineers are going to take the source code of the application, and then as a DevOps engineer, you are responsible to create the infrastructure. As a DevOps engineer, you are responsible to create the infrastructure. That means you are going to take any one cloud. It can be AWS, GCP, Azure, whatever it is. You're going to take one cloud as per the instructions received from your team or from your project lead. And then you are going to set up the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure setup is completed, that means launching an EC2 instances, creating a security group, creating a VPC, creating an RDS instance, creating IAM users, IAM roles. All of these things will come under infrastructure setup. Then you need to take that code and you need to build the code. So in the process of building the code, what we will do is we are going to generate the artifacts. We are going to generate the artifacts. So what is an artifact and what actually it will do? Without these artifacts, particularly for Java-based applications, not for every application, artifacts will come mostly for Java-based applications. Now, you are going to build the code. You're going to build the code. Now, once the code is successfully built, then you are going to deploy the application into the servers. You're going to deploy the application into the servers. And once you deploy the application, that application can be accessible to the end users. That is, once the application is deployed. Now the question is, where are you going to deploy this application? You can deploy this application in the Tomcat, which is a web server. You can deploy the application into the Docker container. You can also deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster. These are different ways of how you can deploy the application. Again, we need to learn how to deploy the application into the Tomcat web server. How do we Dockerize the same application into the Docker container? How do we deploy the same application into the Kubernetes cluster, which is the end goal of application deployment. End of the day, all your applications will be deployed into the Kubernetes clusters only. No other place except the Kubernetes clusters. But directly, we cannot talk about how can we deploy the application into the Kubernetes cluster. So to understand the process of application deployment into the Kubernetes cluster, we should come layer by layer, step by step. That's where first we'll deploy the application into the Tomcat, then we'll Dockerize, then we'll deploy into the Kubernetes cluster. Now, what is meant by this CI and CD pipeline? Developers update the source code. Testing team tests the source code. That updated code will be available in the GitHub repository. And this infrastructure setup is just one-time activity. So we cannot depend on this one at every time. So once the source code is available in the GitHub repository, we need to build the code, which is generate the artifacts. Every time developers updates the code, with the updated code, you are going to generate the artifact. And that artifact, we are going to deploy into the cluster. Again, there are many intermediate layers, which we will understand in the next session. I'm not talking about those intermediate layers at the moment. Now the question comes here is, okay, developers are going to take care of this entire thing. You, as a DevOps engineer, you are going to create the infrastructure. But what is meant by building the code? And how do we generate the artifacts? That is where one of the most important tool that comes into picture, which is known as Maven. So what is Maven? Maven is a build tool. What it is used for? It is used to create the initial project folder structure. It's like, let's say you are writing some documents, you are preparing your own notes in your laptop. Now you don't save these notes in a random location. You'll create one particular folder. Inside that folder, you'll keep day 1, day 2, day 3, like that you're going to keep, and then you're going to store the source code, or you're going to store the daily notes. So similarly, when developers are developing the source code, they will first create the project folder structure, where the application source code will be written by the developers. The code will be written by the developers in the initial project folder structure. How do we create this initial project folder structure? That is by using the Maven. So Maven is a build tool which is used to create the initial project folder structure. Why do we need to create the initial project folder structure? To develop the source code of the application. Okay, that developers has to take care. Why are we bothering about Maven? You don't have to bother about the Maven at this point. Developers itself will create the project folder structure. Developers itself will write the source code of the application. then what is the point in learning Maven as a DevOps engineer? We'll answer that question in a while. Now, as I said, Maven is a build tool, but for which projects? Which kind of programming languages? Based on the programming languages, we have different build tools. We have different build tools. For example, if the application is developed by using a Java programming language, then we have a build tool which is called as a Maven. We have a build tool called a Maven. If the application is developed by using a programming language called a .NET, then we have a build tool which is called as a MS Build. If the application is developed by using a programming language called Ruby, then we'll have a build tool called Rakes. If the application is developed by using a Python programming language, then we have PyBuilder. Like these, based upon the programming languages that we have different build tools. Particularly, the Java-based applications we are going to focus. If you have a .NET application, if you have a Python application and all, you don't have to build it. Directly, they can be executed. We'll see that in the upcoming sessions. How do we deploy a Python application without actually building the code? That we'll see it later. But at the moment, we'll try to focus on Java-based programming languages. Let's say the application source code is developed by using Java, any version of Java, Java 17, 21, 24, 27, whatever version, that is not a problem. So when we have the source code which is developed by using a Java programming language, then we will use Maven as a build tool. But the question here is, do we have only Maven to build the Java-based applications? Are there any build tools that are available? Yes. We have Ant, Gradle. Like these, we have different build tools that are available in the market. But we don't have to focus on all of these tools except Maven. Maven only we'll try to understand because that's a most popularly used build tool for Java-based applications. Now, since Maven is used for Java-based applications, Maven is also known as a Java build tool. Particularly, Maven is used for Java applications, and hence Maven is also called as a Java build tool. What about Maven? Is it available for free of cost? Yes. Maven is a open source software, and is available for free. So we can just download Maven. We can set up Maven in our local or in our EC2 instances also. And then we can start working with the Maven commands, which are called as Maven goals. But before we talk about Maven goals, let us understand what are the features of Maven. Majorly, there are 4 different features that are available for Maven. Let's understand one by one. The first feature, as we already know, using Maven, we can create the initial project folder structure. Mostly that will be done by developers itself. You don't have to do. That's the first feature. The second feature is using Maven, we can download the project dependencies. Now, what is this dependency, or what are these dependencies? So we can download the project dependencies that are required to develop a project. Project means the application code. Now the question comes here is, what is a dependency? What is a dependency. For example, let's say I want to prepare a chicken biryani. I want to prepare a chicken biryani. Now, in order to prepare this chicken biryani, the most important item is rice and chicken. These are the two most important items, rice and chicken. Without rice and chicken, logically, you cannot prepare biryani. You cannot prepare a chicken biryani. The main ingredients we'll call. The main ingredients to prepare biryani. But the question is, just by using rice and chicken, can we prepare a proper tasty biryani? It is not logically possible. You can prepare a biryani, but it may not be an authentic taste of a biryani. So that means, additionally, you need some extra items such as masala, maybe curry leaves, like these different additional items that are required. So what is the purpose of adding these items? The purpose of adding these items is to enhance the taste of your biryani. The purpose of adding these items is to enhance the taste of the biryani. These are called as dependencies. These are called as dependencies. The main ingredients, the secondary ingredients. Secondary ingredients. Without having these dependencies, you cannot prepare a tasty biryani. You cannot prepare a tasty biryani. Just like this, let's say I have an application called Amazon Prime. It's any application. I'm just taking an example. I have an application called Amazon Prime. Now assume developers are developing the application using the main ingredient. So what is the main ingredient? To develop any application, we need a programming language. Let's say the programming language is Java. The programming language is Java. Now they can develop the application. They can develop the application source code, but it won't look like a proper Amazon Prime clone application. You need to add some images. You need to add some animations, hoovers, like these multiple. You need to enhance the UI of application. So in order to enhance the UI of application, or in order to enhance the better features for the application, you need some dependencies. You need some dependencies. Let's say we have some dependency called the Spring context. Spring, like this, some frameworks will be there. So you're going to use the frameworks to enhance the application visibility. These are called as dependencies. These are called as dependencies. So what dependencies will do? Using dependencies, we can enhance the application. We can enhance the application. We can make it much better. We can give a proper look to the application. So using Maven, we can download the project dependencies. Okay, developers will decide these are the dependencies that are required for the project. Earlier, before Maven came into the picture, how developers used to work. Just go back and think about that. Every time, whenever we need a dependency, we need to download this dependency into our local. We need to configure the dependency. We need to work with the dependency. It's like an additional tool. Okay, you downloaded Java into your local. You installed Java in your local, and you started working with Java code. Similarly, you have to install the dependencies as well. You need to download the dependency. You need to configure the dependency and install it. And then you should start working. Now think in these terms. You need 50 dependencies to develop a project. That means 50 tools you need to download and install into your laptop. Just an assumption scenario. You need to download and install 50 different tools. Now, what will happen to the performance of your laptop, of your machine? Eventually, that will get reduced because you are running multiple applications. End of the day, that will create the unnecessary problems while developing the application. So to simplify that process, we can configure whatever dependencies that are required for the project, that developers only will take care mostly. Whatever dependencies that are required for the project, we will Is there any issue? Can you please confirm? It was breaking. Are you able to hear my voice? Can you please confirm now? Is my voice audible?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. Right. So here, how Maven will download these dependencies? Where will we configure that? Okay, it's good. Maven is simplifying our task. Maven is simplifying the developer's task. But how does it simplify? Where are we going to configure the dependencies so that Maven can download them? Maven can download them. So the next question is how Maven will download the dependencies. How Maven will download the dependencies. When you create a initial project folder structure, by default, you will get two things in that initial project folder structure. One is called as SRC. It means it's a source. SRC means a source. It's a folder. Along with this folder, you will have one more file which is called as a pom.xml. This is a file. One is a folder which has the source code of the application. Another one is pom.xml file. So how does Maven download these dependencies? All the dependencies which are required for the project, will be configured in the pom.xml file. How do we configure? We'll see it in a while. Now the question is, what is POM? The full form is Project Object Model. XML full form is Extension Markup Language. So how Maven will download the dependencies? Whatever dependencies that developers require, all the dependencies they are going to configure in the pom.xml file. When you configure the dependencies in the pom.xml file, automatically Maven will download those dependencies. You don't have to manually download each and every dependency which are required for the project. Maven is going to simplify that process. How is it going to simplify? Just to configure the dependency in the pom.xml file, and that will be automatically taking care of downloading those dependencies. That is a second feature of working with Maven. Now, these two are completely from developers' perspective. That developers will take care of. Now, let's look into the perspective of DevOps engineers. How DevOps engineers are going to use Maven. So using Maven, we can compile the source code of the application. What is meant by compile? Generally, we have two types of programming languages. On a larger scale, we can categorize the programming languages into two categories. One is compiled languages. Second one is interpreted languages. Java comes under compiled language. Python is an interpreted language. What is its difference? We'll see it later cases. That's completely developer's perspective anyway. So using Maven, we can compile the source code of the application. Let's say, whenever developers write the source code of the application, the source code will be kept in a file which has an extension called .java. That means Amazon Prime.java. Now, what will be there inside this Amazon Prime.java? The source code of the application. Now, this source code is written in a human readable format. That means we are going to write it. We are going to write it with our own convenient knowledge or convenient level of language. We are going to write it. That means by using Java language, we are going to write the source code. Now, what is your duty? Your duty is to run this source code. Your duty is to run this source code. But how do we run? Because here, machine cannot understand our language. Machine cannot understand our language. So machine will understand the language in a different terms. That is by binary language. That's by binary language. That's by binary language. Machines understand only binary language. That is in the form of zeros and ones. Zeros and ones. That's what binary language is. So how do you convert this human understandable language into machine understandable language? So the process of converting the human understandable language, converting the human understandable language into a machine understandable language, into a machine understandable format or language, whatever you can say. Machine understandable format is known as a compilation. Is known as compilation. Who will do the compilation? Maven will do the compilation. Maven will do the compilation. How does Maven do? For that, we need to execute some commands, which we will see it in a while. Now, assume that you have done the compilation. When you do compilation, what will be the extension of the file? The extension of the file. Using Maven, we can do the compilation. Then the file extension will change to, instead of Amazon Prime.java, the file extension will change to Amazon Prime.class. Amazon Prime.class. That means the .java file will get converted into .class file. .class file. Who will convert that? Using Maven. What will be there in the .class file? Binary language will be available, which machine can understand. This is how you can use Maven as a DevOps engineer for the compilation activity. To keep in a shorter format, you have the .java code, which developers are going to give you. Now, this .java code, you are going to compile it. How do we compile? Using Maven. When you compile, what will happen? This .java code will be converted into .class code. .java code will be converted into .class code. Once the code gets converted into .class format, then you can execute that code. How do you execute that code? How do you execute this code? In order to execute the code, you need to have a machine which is installed with Java. That we call it as JVM. That is a Java Virtual Machine. JVM, Java Virtual Machine. That means you will have an EC2 instance or a server, a virtual machine. Inside that EC2 instance, you are going to install Java 17, 21, 24, whatever version, you can install Java. And once you install Java, then you can execute the code in that machine. Now, when you execute the code, what will happen? You will be able to see the output of the application. You'll be able to see the access the application. That means output you are going to see. Output of the application. Whatever code that is written by the developers, that output you are going to see. This is the process which we need to follow as a DevOps engineer. So using Maven, we can compile the source code of the application. Let's say I have a Java code. Let's take an example, a simple example. I have a Java code. In this, I have a Java code. DevOps greeting, that's a file name. Let me open that file. And whatever code that is available in this file, this is all in human readable format. That means at least you are able to read it. Maybe you don't understand the logic since we are not developers, but at least you are able to read it. You're able to read it. But this cannot be understood by the machine. This cannot be understood by the machine. So what you have to do, you have to convert this human readable language into machine understandable format. How do we do that? Compilation. Compilation. Assume I'm not doing compilation using Maven at this point. Or I'm not doing compilation using Maven, because for that we need to understand Maven goals, which I didn't talk so far. General way of compilation will do it. Let's say I'll open the command prompt in the path where I have the source code. Just type CMD, command prompt will get open. Now I want to compile this source code. Currently, the code is available in Java format. You can see .java. The extension is .java. That's a source file. Now, how do we compile? For that, we have the command Java C, means compile. C means compile. What I want to compile? I want to compile the source code. I want to compile the source code. Hit enter. Now, what will happen? The source code has got compiled. And you see here what happened in the background. The .java file has got converted into .class file. .class file. That means you have compiled the code. You have compiled the code. Now, once you compile it, then you can execute that code. You can run this code. How do we run that? Java space file name. Java space file name, where you have the source code. Hit enter. You see, it is executing the code. Let's say I'll give the name as Kastro. Hit enter. You see, the code has got successfully executed. The code has got successfully executed. What developer written inside this code, that is not our duty. You don't have to bother. That developers will take care. What is your duty as a DevOps engineer? As a DevOps engineer, you need to compile that source code. But at the moment, I didn't use Maven. We'll use Maven in a while to compile it. So first you have to compile it. Once you compile, you need to run the code. When you run the code, whatever is written inside the code, that is getting executed. Now, just like that, if you also have this file, a Java file, a simple Java file, and if you run Java C, if you run Java command, will the code get executed? Obviously, no. The reason is very simple, which is you should have the Java installed in your machine. In your laptop, you should have Java installed. You should have to configure Java. You should have to configure Java. At the moment, I'm just showing it in a local. But when we start working with the Jenkins, we are going to compile it using the EC2 instance. That's actually the real way. Just for your understanding, I'm just showing that. So that is what Maven is going to do. That's what Maven is going to do, which is by using Maven, we can compile the source code of the application. Source code of the application. That's a third feature. Fourth one. Let's say here I have only one Java file. I have only one Java file. Assume I have multiple Java files. I have multiple Java files, microservice application. For each microservice, I have different Java code. Now, how many times will you do Java C file name, Java C file name, Java C file name? That will take a hell lot of time. That will take a hell lot of time. That's where Maven is going to simplify the task. Let's say when we have multiple .java files, compiling multiple .java files into .class files will become a complex process. .class files will become complex. You need to use Maven here. Just execute a simple Maven command. That's it. Whatever Java files that are there in your current location, all the Java files will be converted into .class files. Okay, that's great. You are compiling multiple Java files into .class files at a single time with a single stretch, with a single command. Now, I need to execute each .class file. So how do we execute each .class file? That's not the real way of deploying the applications. When you have multiple .class files. So here what we need to do is, we need to do something which is called as a packaging. We need to package the code. Once you package the code, once the code is packaged, we can directly compile the packaged code. We can directly compile the packaged code. You will have multiple Java files. You are going to convert all these Java files as a single file. And then you're going to run that single file. When you run that single file, all that files, dot class files, will be packaged. Now, how the packaging will happen? Again, using Maven only. Using Maven, we are going to package the code. Using the Maven, we can package the code. But when you package, what will you get? That depends on application. Based on the type of application, the packaging will get varied. That means on a large scale, we have three different types of applications. The first one is called as a standalone application. The second one is called as a web application. The third one is known as a enterprise application. Standalone application, web application, enterprise application. Three major types of applications. When developers are developing a standalone application, then we will get the packaged file in the format of .jar. That means Java archive. When the application is a web application, then the format of the packaged file will be .var, which means a web archive. When the packaged code is in the form of an enterprise application, then you will get the packaged file as EAR file. That is a enterprise archive. Based on the application development by the developers, the packaging will get varied. If developers are developing a standalone application, jar file you are going to get. If developers are developing a web application, var file you are going to get. If developers are developing enterprise application, EAR file you are going to get. And again, in Java applications, we have two types of applications: normal Java application and Spring Boot Java application. Normal Java applications will develop the var file. Spring Boot applications will develop a jar file. Just because Spring Boot applications are creating a jar file, that doesn't mean it's a standalone application. Spring Boot application, it's an advanced way of writing the Java code by using Spring Boot framework. So all the Spring Boot applications will develop a jar file of the application. Now the question is, you have this jar file, var file, EAR files, any one only you'll get, because application end of the day, it can be either a standalone application or a web application or an enterprise application. Most of the times, your applications will come into the category of either web application or enterprise application. Anyway, both will be the same logically. Web application and enterprise application. Now you are getting this jar, var, EAR files. These are called as artifacts. The .jar or .var or .ear are known as artifacts. Once you have the artifact, you need to deploy the artifact into the servers. What will happen if you deploy the artifact into the servers? Then end users can see the application. How do we deploy it? We'll see it in the next session. Tomorrow is all about practically we are going to deploy one application by generating the jar file or var file. We'll see it later, that one. These are the 4 different features of using Maven. Using Maven, we can create the project folder structure. Using Maven, we can download the project dependencies. Using Maven, we can compile the source code. But if you have multiple Java files, then compiling each Java file, executing each Java file will become a complex process. For that, we need to package it. We need to package the code. When you package the code, you're going to get the artifacts. You're going to get the artifact. Take that artifact and deploy into the server, either in the form of Tomcat, either in Docker container, or in the Kubernetes cluster. By the end of this complete code, slowly, first we will deploy the artifact into the Tomcat web server. Then we are going to deploy the artifact into the Docker container. Eventually, we are going to deploy the artifact into the Kubernetes cluster as well. Everything you are going to learn practically step by step. But directly, don't expect that we will directly jump into Kubernetes deployment. That's not the right way. We need to go to layer by layer. So in each layer, we'll try to understand what are the limitations. Then we will jump into next layer. And then we'll try to understand the limitations of that layer. Then we'll jump into the final layer, which is Kubernetes layer. So for that, we need to spend some time. So this is what Maven is going to do in real-time scenarios. Maven is going to do in real-time scenarios. These are the two important steps as a DevOps engineer you need to bother about: compilation and packaging. Compilation and packaging. Now, what we will do is, let us create a standalone application. Let us create a standalone application and web application. Just by using a simple command, we can create it. That we'll get it using ChatGPT. So creation of initial project folder structure. Initial project folder structure. This one we will create it for a standalone application, and we'll also create it for a web application. Both standalone application and web application will going to create. Let's say I'll just go to ChatGPT and I'll ask ChatGPT to give me the command to create the initial project folder structure. So give me the command. Again, this is not our task, developer's task only. Give me the command to create the initial project folder structure, for standalone application using Maven. It will give you one command. Take that command and execute it. Again, don't bother about this command. It's not required also. That's not our duty also. That developers will take care. Okay, it is giving one command where it is going to develop a standalone application. The application name will be My Standalone App. How am I telling it's a standalone application? Not just by seeing this name. You can give any name here. Here you can see artifact ID. Artifact ID. If you see Maven-archetype-quick start. If you see quick start, that means it's a standalone application. If you are creating a web application, then here you will see web app. Let me show you that also. Give me the command to create a web application using Maven. Web application using Maven. It will give archetype artifact as a web app. It is taking some time. Let it take some time. So meanwhile, what we will do is we are going to take this code and not code, basically command. We are going to run this command. To create the initial project folder structure. Let me go to any location. I'm just going to create a folder with a name called standalone app. Some name I'm just creating, standalone app. Inside this folder, I'm going to go to the command prompt, open the command prompt in that path. Now I have copied that command. I'll just paste that command. And then, okay, just a second. I'll just ask it to give it in a single line. That's actually a better way, because give me the below command in single line as I'm executing in the Windows PowerShell. Because the PowerShell won't support these hashes in the end. So we are going to. If it is a web application, you can see Maven-archetype-web app. If it is a standalone application, Maven-archetype-quick start. If you see quick start, it's a standalone application. If you see web app, that's a web application. Right. Let me copy this command and let me paste it here. And then hit enter. Now you can see the project folder structure will get created here. Now again, just because I have the command. I cannot execute this command and create the project folder structure. What do you need? Maven you need. But I'm doing everything in the local. In tomorrow's session, we'll do it practically in the EC2 instance. Here, we are just trying to understand how to work with Maven. That's it. Now, I have created the project folder structure. Let me close this. Inside this project folder structure, as I said, you'll have two files. I mean, you have two things. One is a src folder, which is a source code. Other one is a pom.xml file. What does src contains? The source code. If you go to main java com, you'll have one Java file here. You see app.java file. What will be there inside the app.java file? Source code will be available. By default, you will see a simple hello world code. Now, developers are going to develop this code. That developers will take care. You don't have to bother. Another file is a pom.xml file. As I said, pom.xml file is the project dependency file. Let me open this file. You will see the dependencies which are available in this particular file. Here is where you are going to configure the project dependencies. By default, you will have one dependency which is called as a JUnit dependency. That is a Java unit dependency. It's a test case. It's a test case dependency. Now, let's say, assume for some time you are a developer. How do you configure the dependencies in the pom.xml file or pom.xml file? For that, we have something which is called as a Maven repository.com, MVN repository.com. This is the website where you can find hundreds, millions of repositories, not even hundreds, millions of artifacts you can see. You can see 65.0 millions of artifacts are available. That means multiple dependencies, whatever dependencies that are required for your project, 99.99% of times you will find the dependencies in this particular website. Search for the dependency which is required for you, and then configure the dependency in the pom.xml file. Let's say I want to search for a dependency called Spring Boot. Now I have some dependency. Now let's say I want to configure this particular dependency. Click on that dependency name. And here it will show you what are the different versions that are available for that dependency. You can see different versions are there. There are 389 old versions are also available. Now, as a developer, assume you want to configure this particular version of the dependency, 3.1.11. Any version, just an assumption. Now, the first and foremost important thing that you have to do is directly you should not configure the dependency. You will have one column which is called as vulnerabilities. That means, does this particular version of the dependency has any kind of issues, vulnerabilities, bugs? Any issues are there with that particular version? If any particular version is having a vulnerability, you should not configure such kind of version. You should go with next latest versions or the near old version. Let's say, let me go to some old versions to show vulnerabilities. This doesn't have any vulnerabilities. Let me just scroll down to find any vulnerabilities. Yeah, I believe this particular dependency doesn't have any vulnerability. You can search for some other, let's go and search for Spring Context. I'll search Spring Context. I just want to show you the vulnerabilities. Yeah, you see that here. This particular version is having vulnerability. So you should not use the version of the dependency which has a vulnerability. Generally, developers don't use that. Let's say I want to configure this particular version of the dependency. Click on that particular version. And then based on the build tool that you are using, you will have different build tools here. I told you Maven, Gradle, and like this, we have different build tools. So based upon the build tool, you are having the dependency format. Now I am using Maven as a build tool. Take this entire dependency, copy that one. Now go to the pom.xml file. Now you need to add a dependency. Whenever you are adding a dependency, it must be added inside these two flags itself. That is dependencies. This is the opening flag and this is the closing flag. Inside that only you need to add the dependencies. Whatever you want to add it in between them. Now I'm just pasting it. That's it. Now you have configured the dependency. Just adjust the indentations properly. That would be fine. You have configured the dependency. Now what will happen? Maven will download this dependency. Just because you added here, that doesn't mean Maven will directly download. You need to do some commands execution. But this is how you can configure the dependencies that are required for your project. Okay, I have the dependency configured. Now I want to compile the source code. What should I use? I cannot use Java command now. Java C file name. I should not use that. Why? Because that's a legacy method of compilation. Now, as a DevOps engineer, we need to simplify the process. We need to simplify the compilation process. How do we simplify that? That is by using Maven. That's by using Maven. To understand how are we going to compile the source code? For that, we need to understand compilation, packaging, all these things. For that, we need to understand something called Maven goals. Need to understand Maven goals. So what is meant by Maven goals? Goals are nothing but commands. I want to compile the source code. I want to package the source code. How do we do that? By using Maven goals. And the most important point is all Maven goals will start with the MVN. Maven will start with the MVN. So let's understand each goal. There are 4 or 5 goals are there, which are also called as life cycle, Maven life cycle. The first goal is known as compile. First one is known as compile. What it will do? It will compile the source code of the application. How do we compile that? How do we do that? By using a command called MVN compile. That's the command to compile it. Second one, I want to test the source code. Just an unit test casing, whether the syntaxes are properly written or not, whether the indentations are properly written or not. Again, that will be taken by developers only. But using Maven, you can also test the unit testing, basically. Test means not like real testing, it's a unit testing, just to check the syntaxes and these things. So you can test the source code. So it will perform the unit tester execution on the source code. How do we do that? MVN test is the command. The third one is package. What it will do? It will package the project. Whatever Java files that are there, it will package the project as an artifact. It can be in the form of jar file, or it can be in the form of var file, or it can be in the form of EAR file. It will be packaged the project as an artifact. How do we do that? By using a command called MVN package. And the next goal is clean. Next goal is clean. Let's say I have generated the artifact. Now I have deployed a particular version of the artifact. Now current one version is running. Let's say version 1. Version 1 is currently running by using version 1 artifact. Now developers found that there are some issues with the version 1 of the application. So what developers did? Developers has updated the code. Whenever the code is updated, as a DevOps engineer, you need to compile it. You need to package it. You need to compile it and you need to package it. Before compilation and packaging, it is recommended to delete. It is recommended to delete the existing version of the artifact. And then create a new version of the artifact. How do you delete that? Not by using go to that file and then select delete option, click on delete. Not that way. You need to delete it using Maven. So how do we delete the existing artifact? By using a command called mvn clean. mvn clean. If you do mvn clean, whatever the artifact that is available, that artifact will get deleted. And then how do you create a new version of the artifact? Again, do mvn compilation, mvn package. mvn package. Like that, you're going to generate the artifact. Now here, the most, there is one more command also, which is called as install. Install. If you want to install the entire project as a dependency, then we will use a mvn install. Again, that's not our problem. That's developers will take. Now, among all these, the most important commands for DevOps engineers are mvn compile, mvn package, and mvn clean. Compile, package, clean. These things you need to do. And that is what we'll do it even in the real-time scenarios also as a DevOps engineer. Okay. Now, when we do packaging, I told we'll have jar file of the application or var file or ER file, artifact we'll get. Now, where these artifacts will be available? Once we compile and package the source code, the artifacts will be available inside a newly created folder, which is known as a target. Inside this target folder, you will have the artifact, the jar file, var file, these things you'll have. Let's see it practically. Let's see that practical. So let's say I have the source code of the application. Another important thing, which is a note, all the Maven goals must be executed in the path where pom.xml file is available. Most important thing. Wherever pom.xml file is available, in that path only, you need to execute the Maven goals. Let's say in this path, Maven goal is, pom.xml file is available. I'll go to src folder. Here, I'm not seeing a pom.xml file. Now, what I'll do is I'll open the command prompt in this path. Now, you know that in this path, you don't have pom.xml file. Let's say I will do Maven goal, mvn compile, hit enter. Now, you will see build will get failed. And it will throw an error also. What is that error? It will tell that I couldn't find. You see, build failed. Why build got failed? You need to troubleshoot that. That's the important point. Build got failed. You see, the goal you specified requires a project to execute. I need a project to execute, but there is no pom in this directory. Currently, you are executing the command in this path. I couldn't find pom.xml in that path, so I cannot execute that command. I cannot execute the Maven goal which you have given. That's why I said, whenever you are executing any Maven goal, all Maven goals must be executed wherever the pom.xml file is available. Let's do that one now. I have the source code. I have the pom.xml file. I'll open the command prompt in this path. Now I will do mvn compile. Now, when you do compile, what will happen? .java file will be converted into .class file. Where the .class file will be available? Inside a new folder, which is called as a target. Currently, you see, I don't have a target folder. I have only src and pom.xml. Now, if I do mvn compile, you see, it is generating the jar file of the application. I told you, standalone applications will generate jar file, and the build is success. What happened here? Target folder got created. What will be there inside the target folder? The .class files. You see, classes, com, example, app. You see, .class file. The .java file has got converted into .class file. .class file. Okay. Now I want to package it. I want to package it. How do we package? How do we package for that? How do we package for that? MVN package is the command. MVN package. When you do package, what will happen? The artifact will get generated. Artifact will get generated. Currently, you see, I'm inside the target folder. I don't have any artifact. Jar file is not there. Now I'm trying to generate the artifact. I'm trying to generate the artifact. Now, once the build is successful, you see, the jar file is available. You see what it has done? It built the jar file. It built the jar file. You see, my standalone app 1.0 snapshot. What is this? It's a jar file. The file extension is .jar. .jar. You can see the same thing here also. So you can see building jar. Where it is building the jar? In this part. What is the jar file name? My standalone app 1.0 snapshot .jar. Now you have the artifact. Take this artifact, run it, deploy it. How do we deploy? We'll see it in the next session. We have to set up Tomcat for that. That we'll see it in the next session. Okay, practically we'll deploy the application. That is how you can generate the artifact by using Maven goals. Now let's say developer has updated the code in src main java com example app.java file is available. Now assume as a developer, I'm updating the code. Instead of hello world, let's say I'll just give something like welcome to batch 8. Welcome to batch 8. Just some change I'm doing. Assume developer is doing the change. Now, developer will keep this updated code in the GitHub repository. That we'll see it practically in the next session. Now you have the updated code. Once you have the updated code, what you have to do? You have to generate the new artifact. Currently, you see the artifact which is generated at 25. That means 8:05 p.m. 8:05 p.m. Now what I need to do? I need to first clean the existing artifact. MVN clean. MVN clean. When I do clean, what will happen? Whatever the target folder that is available, that target folder will get deleted. You see, build got a success. What happened? It is deleting. What it is deleting? Target folder. You see, target folder. Is it available in the background? It is not. So clean will delete the target folder. Then what I need to do? I need to compile. MVN compile. After compilation, package. MVN package. Can I do both clean and package? I mean, compile and package in a single command? Yes, you can do. You can run multiple commands also at the same time. MVN compile package. When you do MVN compile package, what will happen? First, compilation will happen. That means the .class file will get created. Then immediately, jar file will get created. You see, compilation is completed. Jar file is also created. Target folder got created. Earlier, the old jar file was at 8:05 p.m. Now the new jar file is at 28, which is 8:08 p.m. Every time developer develops the code, as a DevOps engineer, you need to compile it, package it. You need to compile it, package it. But here, we are doing completely manual process. Whenever developer develops the code, you need to manually come here and run the commands, which is not recommended in the real-time scenarios. That is not what DevOps engineers will do. DevOps engineers should automate the task. How do we automate the task? For that, we have Jenkins. That we will see it in the next session. Tomorrow, we will deploy one application. And as soon as we deploy the application, we will automate the same application using Jenkins. That we'll see it in the next session. This is all about what is meant by Maven. And remember, when you are executing this standalone application, web application, I'll give this web application command also. This standalone or web application, make sure you have Java and Maven installed and configured in your laptop. But again, don't bother about that configuration in your laptop. Give the command in single line because we need to do it in the EC2 instances. That we will see it in the upcoming sessions practically. Okay, so this is to generate the web application. Let me also generate it. Just as a quick note. So I'll just create a new folder called web application. web application, web app. Inside that web app, I'm going to open the command prompt. Inside that command prompt, I'll just paste that command and project folder structure will get created. Project folder structure will get created. And you see the project folder structure got created. Go to this folder and you have the pom.xml file. Now inside this XML file, I mean, wherever you have the pom.xml file, open the command prompt. In that path, execute Maven builds. Let's say I'll directly execute mvn clean package. Clean package. You may tell, we don't have the target folder now. What is the point in executing the clean goal? There is no point. You can execute it, no problem. But what package will do? Package will first compile it and then package it. You see, I'm not executing compile. I am directly executing the package. When you execute package, what will happen? First compilation will happen, then packaging will happen. Let's see that. That means target folder will get created. Inside the target folder, you will have the .class file, that is classes, and then var file is there. It's a web application. Web application means var file. Web application means a var file. If it's an enterprise application, EAR file will be there. EAR file will be there. That is what Maven we will use to compile the source code, to package the source code, and to generate the artifact. Now you have the artifact. You have the artifact. Let's say I have multiple versions of the artifact. But whenever you will do mvn clean, what will happen? The old artifact will get deleted. That means you need to store the artifacts in a secure location. You need to store the artifacts in a secure location. That we can store it in the artifact repository tool. Artifact repository tools. So we can store the artifacts. We can store the versions of the artifacts, in the artifact repository tools such as Nexus and JFrog. Nexus and JFrog. You can also store the artifacts in cloud as well. Particularly in AWS cloud, we have a service called S3, Simple Storage Service. So in AWS cloud, in S3 bucket also you can store the artifact. That also we'll see it. Practically, we are going to see how to store the artifact in Nexus. JFrog I'm not going to touch. Nexus is most popular. We are going to see the artifact storing in the Nexus artifact repository tool and also in the S3 bucket. And once we store the artifact in Nexus and S3 bucket, we will also see how to pick up a specific artifact to deploy the application. Let's say I have different versions of the artifacts which I stored. Version 1, version 2, version 3. Like this, I have different versions. Now assume currently I have deployed this application, this version of the application. Now assume that this particular version has got some issues. It is not performing well. So what I'll do, I have to deploy the next old version. I should not lose my traffic, lose my business. At least I should deploy my old version of the application. That means you have to have this older version of the artifacts. And then you have to pick up a specific version and deploy that particular version. That we will see it in the Jenkins, that we need to automate it. That entire automation, we'll see it in the Jenkins sessions. Jenkins sessions will go for 9 to 10 days. In that 10 days of time, you will be understanding this entire thing. So that is all about Maven. That's all about Maven. So that's, I can close this particular session with this Maven thing. In tomorrow's session, which will be happening at the same time, that is at 7 o'clock in the evening, where we will see how to deploy the application into the Tomcat web server. And then we will also see a brief introduction towards Jenkins. Brief introduction towards Jenkins. Right. So that is all from my end. If you have any questions now, you can please keep your questions. Any questions for anyone? Okay. So if you don't have any questions, let me quickly give an overview about the payment information. So you can do the payment of 9,000 rupees. If you are doing a single time payment, it is 9,000. If you are doing installment wise, it is 10,000. As I said in the last session, 5,000 plus 5,000 you need to pay. And please pay the fee to this particular mobile number, which probably you might already have. That's my personal mobile number only, either on Google Pay or on Phone Pay. And once the payment is made, please share your screenshot of the payment along with your name, email ID, and WhatsApp number. And once your payment is confirmed, you will be added to the WhatsApp group wherein already 6 people has 4 or 6 people, I believe. 4 people has already registered yesterday and today. So I'll be waiting for other registrations also. But anyway,
Kastro.
tomorrow also you can, just a second. Tomorrow also you can listen to the session, and then maybe tomorrow also you can complete the payment. Before Monday session, you please try to complete the payment so that, but don't do the payments in the last minute. Let's say from Monday, the sessions will start at 5 o'clock in the evening. So just before 4:30, 4:45, don't do at that time, because immediately I have to share you the details and all that, but that will take some time. So instead of avoiding the last minute clumsiness, try to pay it before afternoon of Monday. Yeah, that's from my end. Yeah, please go on.
So do we have option for credit card?
No, credit card option is not available at the moment. If
Okay,
anybody is looking for credit card payment, like maybe you can ping me personally. I'll also look into that aspect. If it is a possible scenario, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Please ping me personally.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Can you be little loud?
Yeah, hello. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear
I'm
me?
able to hear you. Yes.
Kiran, as you, before ending this one session, you told like version 3, right? If it is not the performance. So we know that the performance is very less, like the application.
No, let's say I have an application. Let's assume I have an application called paytm.com. Any application, www.paytm.com.
Yeah.
Now, assume that you have deployed this application. Now, you are accessing the application as an end user. When I'm going to mobile recharge page, when I'm entering mobile number, operator, and all these things, when I clicked on proceed to recharge, it is not taking me to recharge page where I can actually make the recharge. So that means it's some issue is there with that particular page.
Yeah.
So that you will get to know from end users. So obviously, let's say yesterday GitHub was down. I don't know how many of you have followed that. Yesterday GitHub was down. So GitHub has got some issues. They were implementing one new feature in GitHub. Let me just show you that also.
Okay.
This particular agent, this feature they have implemented. So probably when they were implementing this particular feature, that's how the GitHub was down. But
Okay.
when the updates are happening, obviously you'll get to know much from the social media and all that part. So once you get to know, obviously you need to deploy it accordingly. You need to correct it accordingly. Very couple of months back, even AWS was also down. AWS, Lambda service was down a couple of months back. So that happens on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for anyone?
Actually, after session, you will provide the recorded video, right?
Yes.
So that video is download from our end,
No,
or
it is not downloadable. It will be shared in a non-downloadable format itself, just for the security purposes. But that can be watched directly in the live. Live as in through Google Drive, it will be shared, so you can access it through Google Drive link.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
And
Kiran, sorry for.
Let me just take a Parikshit question. Please go on, Parikshit.
Sure.
how many time span you will provide that recorded video?
That's
In
for
1
lifelong.
Okay.
And immediately once the session gets completed, probably within half an hour to 1 hour, maximum within 1 hour, you'll be getting the recorded video along with notes.
Okay, got it.
At the worst case scenario, maybe it will take 2-3 hours, but 90% I'll try to keep it within 1 hour, 1.5 hours itself.
Okay. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, someone else was asking a question.
Yeah, Kiran, this is me only. Hello.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, I told like the user, if the user knows that can we like suppose the application is running, right? So can we make it like whenever it goes down or the speed? So automatically we'll get
we
like
can set up the notifications. Yeah, we can set up the alerts.
or something, right? Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. We can set up using Prometheus Grafana, where server monitoring we can perform.
Yeah. And yesterday I saw the video you uploaded, you sent me, and ELO stack also will be explained, right? ELK.
Yeah, ELK also will be included.
Yeah. ELK. Okay. And one more thing, and as you told, like this one Linux and all not been installed. So how much time it will take it because we are not been from the Linux platform. So how much time as for the
No,
normal Linux from
roughly
the scratch?
you can spend some 4 or 5 days solidly for 2 hours in a day. That will help you to understand the Linux commands. No need to learn Linux as an administrator level. That's a complete different thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Basic
got
way
it.
of working, like creating a directory, creating the files,
Yes.
writing the data in the files, creating the file permissions, user permissions. These things, if you have an idea, that's more than sufficient.
Yeah, yeah. So like whatever you teach in the classes, so we can take the documentation lesson, so we can practice over there. No, that's
Yeah,
more
yeah,
than enough.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And as you told that the new feature has been added to the GitHubs, like the agents. So what
Mm-mm.
now current market is like AI agent they call. That is the thing they install. Have you
Yeah,
any idea
that's
about
what
it?
they have. That's what they have done at the moment. But even I have to explore. I couldn't find time
Okay,
to explore that. I have to explore.
okay,
Probably by the
okay,
end of Jenkins or Docker sessions, I'll try to keep a note on that one as well in the live session itself.
okay. And whatever the new features, suppose you are told like 60 days or like 2 months, right? So if any
Hmm.
changes, if you come across like in the
Yeah,
Kubernetes or
that will
any
be
Docker,
included
so it will be
at that time
updated.
itself. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
In
And
that
every
batch
day,
itself, it will be updated.
okay, and every day, like suppose, like as how you told it, like 15 to 20 minutes you'll be scheduled for the clearing doubts or how, correct? Or we
Every
need
day
to be
doubts,
as it. So,
doubt clarification will be there. In between the concept also, I'll ask the doubts. And once the session gets completed also, some 10 minutes or 15 minutes we'll spend for doubt clarifications.
okay, okay. So will you
Doubts will
provide
be
this
cleared
note?
then and there itself. In the live session itself, it will be cleared.
Yeah. So in the middle of, if you did not understand anything, we can ask it, right?
In the
Like
middle
without
also,
this.
we can ask. Since this is a demo
Okay.
session, I didn't
Ye-
give the chance, but in regular
Okay.
sessions, we'll be asking doubts in the middle of the session itself.
Great, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And from the Kubernetes perspective, because what I am seeing in the market, it's like the booming even for the MLOps or the from the advanced.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm.
almost like from the basics from the scratch, you'll be
Yeah, yeah.
teaching, right? Yeah, yeah,
You'll be
yeah.
learning from writing how to write a YML file to the production level deployment of application into the using Jenkins, Argo CD, all these tools.
Okay, okay. And even EKS or something like that also,
That's
which will
what
that.
Kubernetes will do everything
Yeah.
on EKS only.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi,
Yeah,
Kiran.
hi. Yeah, hi, please.
Yeah, myself, Suman. I just want to know, I got this course details in the previous video as well. Just wanted
Okay.
to check the timing of this video. These sessions will be from 5 o'clock or during the
Yeah,
weekdays?
5 o'clock to 6:30 in the evening. That is from Monday to
Okay.
Friday. And some days we'll also have sessions on Saturday as well, but that will be informed much prior.
Okay, okay. Well, is there any other timing?
No, this is the only timing
only.
which is there at the moment, because in other timings like 8 o'clock I have one more batch which is for another institute, and in the morning I have one more batch that is for institute. So this is my personal batch which I can schedule at that this time only. I mean like 5 to 6:30.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
And Kiran, hello.
Yeah, please go on.
Kiran, the email, right? We have received. What are the details we need to send? Can you please repeat again?
This one, you can see it here. Screenshot of the payment, your email ID, your name, and WhatsApp number. You can send it to this
Okay.
particular number. You can take a screenshot of this particular screen so that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And one more thing I could suggest, because if you'll be, I think there are more people number of the in the group, so I could suggest like if they create a separate for this only for
Yeah,
batch
it
8
will be
related
there.
that is.
It will be there.
Yeah,
Yesterday itself, I have mentioned that for every batch, there will be
yes,
a separate WhatsApp group. And for
yes.
all the batch students, there will be a community group also, where from the students from different batches, I mean, the previous batches will also be there in that community group. So you'll have a community group as well as a individual batch specific group also.
Sure, sure.
Already there are a couple of people in the batch. I have created the batch day for yesterday itself, since a couple of them have already registered. The already batch is available.
Okay.
One doubt from my side.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
How long this recording will be available, or is it
Lifelong.
lifelong?
Lifelong.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
I join this course, then it will be
Yeah.
accessible
At any given
anytime.
point of time. Yes.
Okay, okay, got it.
Right. So I believe you don't have, I mean, anyone else don't have any other questions. So if you don't have any questions, we can wind up the session. Thank you all. We'll meet in the next session tomorrow at the same time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. See you.